Hi, I'm Lisa Ferrance. Yesterday, I was sitting in session with a client, and she was talking about very devastating and very traumatic early experience that she had had in her family. And I noticed something that I'm sure many of you as clinicians have noticed and experienced as well. And that was this complete flat affect and emotional disconnection from what she was talking about. This is something that frequently shows up in therapy, where there is this fundamental disparity between the intensity of the content and the emotional gravitas of the content and what the client is actually displaying, which comes across, again, like they're reporting the weather, very flat, very intellectualized, very disconnected from the emotion. I think that there's a tendency to pathologize this in the mental health field, and it's really important as clinicians to reframe what we're witnessing as a form of pacing and a fundamental form of protection. I always like to remind myself when I witness this take place in session that this is the client's unconscious way of letting me know that it's too soon to connect to the emotional valence of what they're describing, and that I really need to allow them to first get close to talking about something very painful in a way that gives them enough depersonalization so that it's literally manageable and not overwhelming. Now, that's not to say that that's going to be the end point in therapy around that issue, but it often is the starting point. And I think that we need to normalize for our clients that it makes sense that they need to be able to talk about something really painful in a somewhat initially detached way. Something else that I think is worth exploring when your client brings a lot of intellectualization into the work is to ask what it would mean if they did get emotionally reconnected. What will they gain? And what will they lose? Because there is a protective component to not connecting emotionally. I've also found that it's really helpful to get them to talk a little bit about the ways in which the people in their lives modeled the expression of emotion. A lot of the times, clients are reticent about getting close to feeling because they don't want to look like an out of control parent, a parent who is raging, or a parent who is always flooded and dysregulated. And so it's worth pointing out to the client that they are not their parent, and that with the support and the guidance of a good therapist, and with the self-compassion that you're going to help them bring to the emotional state, that they'll be able to navigate and connect back to the emotional valence of what they've experienced, because that's really what's needed to ultimately heal from the event.